Hello and welcome to a Monday edition of the Osceola Seminole Sidelines. My name is Pat Burnham, and I am joined today by Nick Carlisle and Bob Ferrante. Boys, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Did everybody survive the weekend and following Shedeur Sanders into the 5th round of the NFL draft? And still the angst of every ESPN and NFL network announcer still is going on. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But how's everybody doing? Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, that was honestly one of the more interesting drafts I think I've ever watched. And I'm not normally like a huge draft person, but when even my non-sports related friends are starting to text me and say they're watching the draft, watching Shedeur Sanders slide into the 5th round, and just watching every single team, whether Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Cleveland, just anticipating watching these guys come up to pick throughout the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then into the 5th round, and then just getting almost like obviously unfortunate for the kid, but almost like a amused, giddy reaction of seeing probably one of the most memorable quarterback slides since Aaron Rodgers? Would you say? I can't remember one more memorable than that. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it will.
27th in the 83 draft.
Yeah, well, I wasn't even born then. So,
hey, the Cleveland Browns are playing chess, not checkers. They wanted to get Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, guys. I mean, they are chess, not checkers.
Well, no one has does quarterback rooms quite like the Cleveland Browns. So.
What a great mentor for Shedeur. No, what is it? It's Deshaun, Kenny, Joe Flacco, and then Dylan and Shedeur. So 5 QBs. That is not only a crowded room, but that is a cult of personality and maybe not the nicest of ways.
One of those guys will be hitting the bricks pretty soon after a mini camp. There's no doubt.
Or Joe Flacco.
Yeah, well, one of the 4 will definitely. I think it'd be Flacco or Pickett that's leaving, but we'll see. But yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that, and we're going to get into obviously the portal. We got. I think it's important news. My take on it is a little bit different than everybody else's. We'll talk a little bit about where Florida State's players were drafted, and probably, everybody kind of knows about that. It was Farmer and AZ, and there were only 2 drafted, but at least 7 Seminoles have signed free agent contracts. So we'll talk a little bit about those 7 guys, and probably more importantly, which 2 or 3 of those guys do we anticipate making it past a mini camp and into a preseason roster. NFL teams do sign bodies. We got a lot of guys at USF when I was there signed by the Bucks for practice, going into camp. And as they cut them down, you can kind of tell which guys are just signed for practice. But we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll get into a little bit of baseball. Not a lot of fun stuff to talk about with baseball this weekend because Louisville got after Florida State pretty good on Saturday and Sunday. When they weren't stealing bases, they were knocking the ball out of the park. We'll talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about the craziness of baseball polls. If we thought we had a problem with football polls, guys, baseball is ludicrous. All right, so let's start with the transfer portal. FSU signed East Tennessee State quarterback Jalen King. Guys, my take on this is he is not being brought into red shirt. There's been a lot of narrative around the program about that. It started on Twitter. I saw it multiple times. I've seen it by multiple services. This Jalen King has 2 years of starting experience at 2 different colleges. In today's portal era, you're not bringing this kid in to automatically redshirt. Now, redshirting could happen, Bob and Nick, but I truly believe, and this is based off my history of working inside college football for 10 years and being around it my whole life. I believe this kid's going to be given a chance to win the the backup quarterback role, I should say. Backup. I firmly believe Castellanos is the starter. But just like we talked about last week on the corner, the defensive backs, cornerback, Nick, I think that there's a reason they're not sure exactly what they've got backup wise, and this kid has 3, possibly 4 times as many snaps as Brock Glenn in his college career, and certainly more than Kevin Sperry. I do think the timing of it was deliberate. It was one of the more secretive prospects they brought on campus. It just happened to be after the portal closed. Now, that may or may not have, listen, it's uncommon for these quarterback signings not to have ripple effects on these rosters. Now, we've heard nothing of Brock Glenn being in the portal. We're not saying that he would be, but what I am saying is I would not be surprised if this has ripple effects. And, of course, I don't know that Brock's graduated, which means he can enter the portal anytime he wants. He's not subject to the window. But just your take, because I'm a firm believer in this kid's being brought in to play football for Florida State. And if it doesn't work out, then you can redshirt him for whatever reason. Brock's clearly the second best quarterback, or Sperry. Listen, you're going to see a lot of guys with 1-year windows at colleges because of the portal. But what are your thoughts on Jalen King? And I'll start with you, Nick, because you kind of broke the story.
Yeah, it's a complete surprise of him showing up on campus. I certainly didn't hear anything about it until I saw that he was on campus, and just kind of the preliminary research that I did on him. You take a look at not only where he's coming from, but what he produced when he was there, and you're like, okay, well, this is more or less a replacement for Trevor Jackson. Similar build, similar type of skill set. But then he said the comment about redshirting, and now it's a situation where I think whatever Florida State saw in this kid, there's something long-term at play here, whether in terms of being able to compete for the starting job next year, whether it's somebody to truly push Brock, because who knows if obviously Kevin Perry had a really nice spring, but is he going to be that guy with a couple of years separated to where he's truly going to be able to push Brock for a starting position next year? And how does that work into the fall as well? So I think you're bringing him in to really play towards the future and the competition and the overall depth of the room, especially when the depth of that room is, I don't want to call it a concern, because obviously there's a lot of quarterbacks in that room, but with somebody that has been injury prone in their career and is somebody that is versatile and volatile as Tommy Castellanos, and what he can do if he does find himself on the sidelines with an injury, and then you start getting into the matter of, okay, well, what if Brock gets down? Then you're left with true freshman Kevin Sperry and some walk-ons, and then your quarterback situation might even be worse than last year. So there's a couple of plays and a couple things in play here, but it's certainly developed between a 1-for-1 kind of replacement for Trevor Jackson, who went to Arkansas, to now, well, maybe there's some intentions in the long term here.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not a big believer in a body for a body, and if there was a body for a body type of play here, that's what the little preferred walk-on quarterback from Georgia would have been, because he is a guy that can come in and run your scout team. You're certainly not bringing this guy in initially to run your scout team. He's started 17 of 19 games in his college career, passing for over 2,700 yards, 20 touchdowns. Did have a few more interceptions than you like last year. East Tennessee 11, but he also had 823 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. And listen, I think the kid said everything that they wanted him to say coming out of the interview, bringing up the red shirt. It kind of eases his onboarding to the roster, that he said publicly, listen, this is a red shirt thing for me. But listen, guys, I've been around a long time, and one of the reasons they did away with the eligibility restrictions on transferring is because nobody transfers the red shirt. All right, I've never heard that. Football practice is too hard. Offseason is too demanding. Nobody transfers to redshirt. But he said that. And then, of course, everybody kind of thought that was what, he had been told in that meeting. And then Mike comes out and says he has the opportunity to compete and grow in a talented room with the possibility to redshirt. So listen, they're playing that card, and I think we know this is a very fluid world in the quarterback. So I think they were saying all the right things. But yes, possibility to redshirt and are definitively redshirting, as some have suggested, are two entirely different things. And now the head coach is saying it's a possibility he could redshirt. Listen, we've talked about this before. Tommy Castellanos, as exciting as he is, and I'm looking forward to watching him play, he is electric. It's just who in the world is he going to shock? The other team or his own team with the style of play? So, listen, and this guy is a bigger version. He's 6'3", 220. I saw some. He's listed at 210. He's from Folkston, Georgia. But listen, I think he's being brought in to compete with the other two kids behind Tommy Castellanos, and we'll see what happens. Bob, what's your take on this thing?
We love multi-year transfers. We love stash and develop players. I understand everybody's going to roll their eyes and say, well, Mike Norvell's got to win in 2025.
Yes, he does.
I get it. You get it. We all got it, right? At the same time, in the name of player development and name of quarterback development, this could be a really good move. I don't know how much he's going to play this year, especially having missed a full spring. Can he catch up rapidly? Does he know? Does this offense translate to what he's seen in the past? Gardner-Webb, East Tennessee to FCS schools. It's a massive jump in competition. But does he have the skill set for a Gus Malzahn offense? Could he be better than, as you said, Brock Glenn? He is not accurate, as a lot of people have pointed out on social media. He is more accurate at the FCS level than Brock Glenn has been at the Power 4 level. Not apples to apples comparison. I want to try not to contradict myself.
Well, and listen,
there's so many questions here, but he could be a developmental guy at the minimum.
Yeah, and he didn't have to play behind Florida State's offensive line last year either, which probably helped him. East Tennessee's was probably better than Florida State's last year. But listen, I think there's nothing wrong with taking this kid. Listen, again, you're right, Bob. It could turn into a developmental thing. I think they took him because they've seen all his film. They clearly feel like he's a fit for this offense that Gus runs. They got access to all the Wofford tape they want, all the East Tennessee State tape they want. And, listen, if he's not ready, great. You can redshirt. I think that's the great thing about him having the red shirt. If he's not a guy that can play, and I don't make as big a deal of him coming in the summer, because at the end of the day, he's only missed 13 practice opportunities. This team did not even get to fulfill all 15 days of spring. Now, listen, and the coaches can work with kids in the summer now, so I think he'll have a chance to catch up, because at the end of the day, he's only 3 months behind the other quarterbacks who have only got 13 practices in this offense. So I think, listen, you said it. This is a big year for Mike. I don't think that I don't think they've made any decision on who's going to be redshirted, and I don't think they will until they're about 2 weeks out from that opener against Alabama, because Mike Norvell's got to win this year, and they clearly feel like they're a better football team bringing this guy in. So we'll see what role he fills, but I just don't think it's clear cut that he's going to ride the pine for a year and learn behind Castellanos and Brock and Kevin Sperry. I think he's brought in because he's got a lot of experience. Florida State, could benefit from that experience, possibly, depending on how next year plays out. But I was kind of surprised, because usually when you got quarterback stuff, it's the internet's blowing up, and this kind of came and went, and nobody really said anything. Nobody broke out in their special podcast around the program. It was, hey, it's a depth piece. Well, we'll find out. He certainly adds depth to the room. We'll find out how much depth in the fall. And listen, I'm looking forward to see him. I mean, kid's got great size. He comes from a great high school football program, Folkston County, Charlton County, Georgia. They've produced football players year after year after year. And he became the second transfer portal addition for Florida State, who obviously added Houston cornerback Jeremiah Wilson last week. We talked about that extensively, so we won't go there again. But we will tell you that did take Hawaii cornerback Khalid Brown out of play, who committed to Virginia Tech this weekend. So it certainly looks like Florida State was going after one defensive back, our cornerback. I still think they need a safety. We're not going to rehash that until we can identify a prospect. It certainly does not look like it's going to be Tennessee's John Slaughter, who has gotten nowhere near this campus since he entered the portal. And not that they all going to visit, but we'll see what happens there. Listen, I know, Nick, I'm going to kind of let you handle the Tony Johnson thing. He's the Cincinnati wide receiver that was on campus, as your text put it so eloquently, for all of 5 or 6 hours on Friday. He has been to Miami, had been to UCF, or was going to UCF after Florida State. He put out a cryptic text last night that kind of alludes to he maybe have made a decision. It's just not announced, or was close to making a decision. I think Florida State needs to go as in as they can financially on this kid because he's highly productive. We don't see many other wide receivers on their radar. What are your thoughts on Tony Johnson?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to read this. That what was supposed to be a Saturday, Sunday visit ended up being he got here around 10 a.m. and was gone or by around 2 or 3, and we didn't see eye or ear of him until Derek Ray came out and said, no, he's not here. He's gone and he's not coming back. So there's a lot involved here. Obviously, he saw UCF in Miami earlier this week. And with Miami not only taking Nykar back out of the portal, also landing the Keelan Marion kid from BYU. I think right now, I mean, unless Miami is just rolling riches and wants to take another wide receiver in the portal, this would probably come down to Florida State and UCF and what money you can get from either. Now, obviously, it's not all about money, but in terms of negotiations, a visit that short, it seems like it was very business related, and we'll see how things end up. I assume in a couple of days.
Yeah, listen, I think these, particularly these spring portal guys, are such a window. They've got to try to, most schools are going to want them in that early May summer school to get indoctrinated into the program. So, yeah, it's not. I don't necessarily read anything negative into a 5 or 6 hour stay because let's face it.
Just it was very business-like.
Yeah,
he came in, he saw what he needed to see, he talked to who he needed to talk to. Now, whether that was negotiation or it was something else, I definitely didn't view a shorter visit as anything negative.
Yeah, but I would say that Derek's demeanor when he told you guys that is probably more important than the kid's stay 5 or 6 hours. Now, when you said it like you said it, I was like, well, he's not coming to Florida State.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he might just bet he's not coming back today. But, yeah, so that would be a good one, I think, for Florida State, unless they've got another receiver on the hook somewhere. And we don't think they do based off what we know at 3:18 p.m. on April 28th. So Tony Johnson, we think, is going to be making a decision between, it sounds like, FSU, UCF, with potentially Miami being in the picture. But I'm going to tell you what, Miami's killing it in the portal, guys. I mean, I know this is a watered-down version of the portal in the spring, but they've got some of the better guys in the portal. They got the NC State linebacker that had such a good year after Caden Fordham got hurt up there at is it Caden? Yeah, Caden's up at his brother Corbin's at is a high school prospect. So, yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Got some new targets on the horizon. Grand Valley State University offensive tackle Jalen Caldwell. Nick, I know he's a 2-year starter type of kid, but he was very lightly recruited out of high school. Do you think this is a guy that Florida State is going to consider seriously given his background, or and have you had a chance to watch any tape on him from Grand Valley? I have not.
I have not either. It's hard to say because there's Florida with the offensive tackles and the linemen that Florida State are offering. There's the theme of just having multiple years of eligibility left. Obviously, Josh Raymond, who's coming in tomorrow from Vanderbilt, 4 years of eligibility remaining. He would have the Grand Valley State kid would have 2. I don't know if this is indicative of just trying to lighten the load on Herb with the high school recruiting by getting a couple of more guys in the program that have already been in college but have multiple years of eligibility remaining. I can't. I don't get the sense either which way, like that Florida State is not considering him seriously. I think based on just order of events happening, they probably are more interested in Raymond than they are in what's his last name? I'm blanking on it right now. The Grand Valley State kid.
I just said it. Caldwell.
I would say Franklin or whatever. Caldwell.
What a name.
Yeah, what a name. It's hard for me to say. It's hard to know. Like, I don't know if you're trying to read too much into it by saying, like, hey, they're going after guys with multiple years of eligibility for a reason, and therefore they're really interested, or if this is a similar situation between Jeremiah Wilson and Caleb Bell, where there's a clear guy that they like more, and then the other is just more of a, well, in case that doesn't work out, we still have this guy coming on a visit.
Yeah, well, they've got a little history with Raymond, who is from Orlando, and we do believe that he was probably at least evaluated by Herb Hand and Gus Malzahn, although I could not find that he was offered by UCF coming out of high school. But, listen, they've probably seen the film on him from the spring year or scout team film from last year, something. They've got a connection there. So we'll see what happens with Josh. Who will be on campus starting tomorrow. And then, of course, I believe that Caldwell's coming this weekend, correct? So
yes,
and he's got Caldwell, I believe, had Kentucky already and Missouri midweek, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back and check my notes as we continue to work our way through these guys. I could be wrong about that. No, Caldwell took a visit to Kentucky this weekend, has Missouri scheduled for a midweek trip before his trip to FSU, and he has started 25 games over the last 2 years. Now, just in case you want more information on Caldwell, he did not have, in my research, a P4 offer coming out of high school. What he did have is interest from Eastern Illinois, Illinois State, Northern Illinois. So all those MAC schools around Chicago area where he is from were the schools that had interest in him. And listen, we'll see. I mean, there's something Florida State likes about him, and so far, we think that Herb's done a pretty good job as far as the talent pool, the number of kids he's looking at. So we'll see what happens there. Last night, I got a message from the Penn State Rivals Network, and it looks like Florida State has reached out to Rutgers transfer linebacker Mohamed Touré. He is from New Jersey. He is taking a visit to Penn State. He has a visit set to Miami. It's less clear right now whether the Seminoles will get a visit at this time. Their other team involved in his portal process is Syracuse. He's 6'2", 236. He has 1 year of eligibility remaining. It would be a 6-year senior. He had a very, very productive 2023 season at Rutgers. Unfortunately, he has lost 2 full seasons to ACL injuries. That's the bad part of it. The good part of it is you might get a discount, ACL discount, because he is looking for a place to play his senior year where he feels he has a chance to, grow his chances of going to the NFL. I think that's one of the reasons he's looking at Florida State, Syracuse, and obviously Miami. And I think that maybe what has happened is, and I think Rutgers has got a pretty good linebacker core they feel about, and this kid's coming off, like I said, a second injury in 3 years. So we'll see what happens if Florida State can get a visit from Mohamed Touré from Rutgers. Again, a senior linebacker that has 1 year of eligibility remaining, but he has missed 2 years due to ACL injuries. And as someone who has had ACL, and that's no fun. Hope the kid stays healthy and has a great senior year, whether it's at Florida State or elsewhere. But we will keep you informed on whether or not he ends up taking a visit to Florida State later this week. Now, a kid that we do know is coming in this week is defensive end Miles Mitchell. I know that you broke this, Nick. What do we need to know about Miles?
Yeah, Miles coming in from Monmouth. He's going to get here, I believe, on Friday. Interesting prospect. Maybe not the production that you'd want when you look at his stats, but he does play a position that Florida State maybe, I don't know if you consider it light, but they don't really have somebody that perfectly fits what the jack linebacker edge rusher would be. Obviously, they have people that can play that, but I think you alluded to it on your board post, Pat. They don't have anybody like that apart from maybe like an Amari Williams, who is very clearly lighter, a little bit more explosive. So I think this is a good opportunity to have somebody that is stand up, can be explosive off the edge. And it's just a matter of getting him and see whether he can produce or not. So he's going to be here on Friday. He told me that this morning. He may have visited somewhere else prior to this, but as far as we know, this may be his first visit out of the portal. But we'll clear that up.
I'm waiting for him to text me back right now. I've reached out to him to see if he's got any other visits set up. But, yeah, listen, I think that the only other – if you go back and look at Nebraska's two deep last year, all their jacks were 6'4", 240, 6'3", 250 type kids, and this guy's 6'4", 250. Some more background on Miles Mitchell if you're interested. He was offered by Air Force, Bowling Green, Coastal Carolina, Fordham, UMass, Temple, William & Mary, and Yale. If you just look at Air Force and Yale, you automatically know this is a very bright kid. Listen, when I started my research, I was a little bit surprised. Not gaudy numbers given the fact that he's playing at a lower level. He played in 12 games this past year, had 5.5 TFLs, 2.5 sacks. In 10 games in 2023, he was not credited with a sack, but had 3 TFLs. And in 2022, had 6 TFLs and 2 sacks in 11 games. Listen, I don't know their scheme, so I'm not going to sit there and say that that he didn't produce the way he should have. I'm just going to say, hey, Trenton, we appreciate a new member, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're enjoying what we're talking about. And I was a little bit surprised by that. But listen, I've always said sometimes stats can be misleading because we don't know how he's used, how they're repping people. Is he playing half the time, all the time? But listen, he's certainly an intriguing prospect. And, I think everyone knows that Florida State probably needs another guy that can get after the passer, whether it's in your regular 4 down or even in your dime package where maybe you're only rushing 3, but certainly an intriguing prospect. Listen, if you follow him on Twitter, folks, he's got some good highlights. Nick's got them posted to our board post, so you can go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and go to our board post on portal prospects that Florida State has interest in, and Nick has pulled up some video for you to watch there. So that is the latest on incomers into the portal or potential incoming portal players. We got some news on some outgoing portal players from Florida State, and we found out on Friday or Saturday that Gus Malzahn is taking biscuits off the FSU playbook menu. Marquiston Douglas back for a little, I guess, vacation. Actually, he was living in a hell of a place.
More like a training camp, honestly.
Yeah, I would have stayed.
Considering how much he lost.
To be honest with you, if I was just staying for a semester. But so Marquiston Douglas transfers back into the program. Now he's out. It looks like he could change his mind. I don't think Mike's going to let him. But this one surprised me, guys. Not because he's super talented, because I don't think outside of Landon Thomas, they really don't have a guy that you think's got the potential to be super talented as an all-purpose tight end. But Marquiston did give you a guy that had some size and ability to block. You've only got 3 tight ends with playing time in college on this roster. When you factor in Chase Lofton, who's a true freshman, and We heard a lot of great things about him, but I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm not expecting much out of him. We saw him have to play tight ends too early last year. It's going to take away a year of eligibility from Landon Thomas and Amari Williams that they could have had for another year. But what are your thoughts on Biscuits being cooked at Florida State?
I think it's a signal that Florida State's got to find a tight end option, right, out of the portal. And this is the bummer because, like you said, I think he really could have been their best blocking tight end option. And I like him as a red zone option, candidly, as a pass catcher in this offense too. So I think it's disappointing that he chose to do this, but he's got 1 year of college football left. He's clearly trying to find some place where he can maximize that and then parlay it into pro football. But yeah, it leaves you with 3 guys. It leaves you with one of those being Chase Lofton, who love his highlights, but he is a pass catching receiver type and not so much a tight end type now at this stage in his career.
Yep. Nick, any thoughts on Biscuit?
Just that it's unfortunate. I think if you poll FSU fans when he first announced that he was committing and coming back, I think most FSU fans would have said, "Hey, welcome back. We need somebody exactly like you." And considering the way that the tight end room was leaving the fall with how many tight ends that they lost, and I think it's disappointing from that standpoint, but not for especially with what Biscuit said. Said he was coming back. He said he missed playing here, and words are words. But to see him hop back into the portal after 13 practices and a whole lot of shedded weight, it's a little disappointing. And maybe Landon is making a bigger push than we thought. Obviously, Randy Pittman's here now, and obviously he's got a lot of experience with what Gus Malzahn does coming from UCF. But that tight end room becomes a little bit lighter. They should open themselves up to find something in the portal if it's available, though obviously the portal closed on Friday, and I don't know. Tight end wasn't exactly one that we were necessarily like honing in on over the earlier weeks. It was more so, okay, we know they're going for safety and possibly linebacker, one of those other positions.
They need a tight end since we started this thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like an unexpected entry into the portal now has you looking for options that may not be there because you haven't put the groundwork in looking for those earlier, I guess is the point that I'm making.
Yeah,
but
they should have put the groundwork in starting as soon as they knew who their tight end room consisted of, and they wanted to keep Amari on defense. So, listen, maybe they did. Maybe they just haven't found anybody, but this is certainly a position that needed an upgrade because Mike can sit there and say what he wants about Chase Lofton, but he's an early enrollee freshman. It's not going to be strong enough to hold up at the point of attack, and you limit what you can do. So, I think this was a room they should have been looking at much harder. Now, I don't know what's in the portal necessarily. I heard rumors today they're looking at an SEC tight end that's in the portal. I'm going to start researching that as soon as we're done here. But, I hope this is not a lack of due diligence on their part and that they are now just a reactionary thing to Biscuit leaving, because this room had a flaw in it, even with Biscuit in it. It needed another all-purpose tight end. Like, you needed a guy that they got a lot of one-trick ponies in that room right now. And you can't play your best football when you got specialized people at one. They're all specialists, right? They're all pass catching specialists. Now Landon's big enough that he can should be able to grow into an all-purpose tight end. We'll see what happens when he comes out this summer. But I was they knew who they were dealing with. I mean, they had the kid on campus for 3 years before he left for Arizona State. And listen, it's just one of those things that it is what it is. And, now you've missed the boat on Jordan Scott. You missed the boat on Marquiston Douglas. Hakeem transfers out. And then, of course, Jaylen Brown gets himself kicked out. We'll see what happens there. I hope they get a portal guy. Now, we talked a little bit about this on Friday. Tamir Hickman-Collins is going to transfer out of the program. We talked about the fact that we thought there might be a linebacker transfer out because of all the linebackers that transferred in. And then we saw a guy and listen, this is off of one practice. We saw AJ Cottrell have a really strong scrimmage in the scrimmage that we were able to see. This is not a big deal because you're 3 deep at all 3 linebacker positions. So it's not necessarily going to kill you from a depth standpoint. He was an unproven guy. Anyone got a strong take on Tamir Hickman-Collins leaving the program?
It doesn't surprise me only because I think I remember Randy Shannon saying that Clinton Portis was at his old high school, and Clinton had mentioned, to Randy, hey, we got a guy in Tamir Hickman-Collins. You want to give him a look? So anytime it's a South Carolina kid down to Florida State, and then you have a coaching change at your position, I think you have to kind of wonder, just the pieces weren't fitting, where Tamir's feet were here in Tallahassee, and he's moving on.
Yeah, and sometimes and we don't know this and this is just me thinking out loud. All right, so when a guy like Marqueston Douglas transfers out, does he know they've got somebody coming in? Same thing with Tamir Hickman-Collins. He announces that he's transferring out, and then the next day, Muhammad Torrey's been contacted. We find out Muhammad Torrey's been contacted by Florida State. Listen. If they're contacting Torrey, they're probably contacting other linebackers, right? It's probably not just probably not a one-off. It's the one we know about, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I thought we might see a linebacker leave this room, and I really like this high school tape. Of course, most of what we see are high school highlights, so it's hard not to like their tape when we evaluate them. I try to remind myself every time I watch one. It's not about what you see; it's about what you don't see, and it's the same thing. The same way people should evaluate practice. It's not so much about what you see, but what you don't see. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. Again,
disappointed that I can't call him THC. I wanted him to get playing time so I could call him THC. As he puts the licking on people and puts them to sleep, gets a little Betty by there, little 420 joke. But
so he's the indica version.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't think this isn't really a needle mover either way. I thought just watching him, I always thought he was kind of small for the position anyway. Now, obviously, size isn't the end all be all, but I think it was only like 6 foot and like 215 when he came in, and he didn't look that much bigger throughout his time here. So, and to your point, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Was his leaving predicated on the fact that they're shopping again for portal options, or is it the other way around?
Right.
To where he may just see the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that may be with Tamir, but having the fact that Marqueston's actually posting highlights of his own practice on his Twitter account makes me think that was. I'm not sure how that one played out, because clearly, if he is putting his own highlights on Twitter from spring practice, he's got that leads me to believe he's got very little going on in the portal, and this will end up being something that people are going to have to look at before they take him, and the fact that he transferred back to Florida State and is now transferring back out of Florida State. Listen, there may be a very legitimate reason for this, and he may be looking for a place to transfer down to where he can play all the time, right? Go to a FCS or Group of 5 program. He didn't play a tremendous amount at Arizona State. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so I think we got the portal taken care of. Nobody's jumped in today that we're aware of, and we have shared the intel that we do know on who they could bring in or are bringing in this week. All right, guys, so let's move to the draft, and let's talk about Florida State, folks. And I do want to talk about this. This is just the only recruiting note I've got for today. Cam Brooks from Thomasville, Georgia, the 4-star defensive end, committed to Cal last night or this morning. I can't remember which, but it's not been long at all.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And, of course, he has had significant interest in Cal. He's been one of his top teams. Nick, Cam had been to campus quite often, did not come for either junior day when he was supposed to or spring practice when he was supposed to. I cannot remember which one of the two it was. But I think he
was here during the spring. I remember seeing him.
Yeah, he missed one of the times he was supposed to come. Listen, I think this is a guy Florida State could circle back to. You don't see a ton of kids fly all the way across country to play at other schools, particularly like Cal, but it's also the new modern version of NIL, and he also gets to play over on this side of the country about every other week because Cal is so out of place. They're kind of obviously in the ACC, which is still weird to say. But I was a little bit surprised by that. But Cam Brooks may be a guy that Florida State can circle back to. All right, so the NFL draft. All right, so I don't. I'm fine. I'm happy for AZ and happy for Josh. They ended up in the AFC East. AZ's with the Jets, and they have a history of drafting Florida State folks. And I think every NFL team does. To be quite honest with you, I mean, I don't even know.
As of recent.
Yeah, I don't even know.
LA, the Rams, the Chargers, and the Jets.
Yeah, and then you get Farmer to New England. Boy, I hope Josh is ready for Vrabel. That's all I'm gonna say, because I listen to stories about that guy and he is a maniac. Listen, I think that's a good fit for him because that will be he's played in that 3-4 that kind of similar scheme before with what Adam had done some odd defensive stuff, or what I call playing heavy technique, two gapping, for lack of a better word. But what do you guys think about AZ and Farmer going in the draft? Where they went in the draft? How long do you see them sticking around?
I think Josh Farmer is an interesting one in the 4th round. It feels like he dropped a lot lower than we all expected. Daniel Jeremiah on the NFL Network broadcast mentioned that there may have been some injury issues with Josh, and that's why he dropped that far. I mean, we know Josh has had some shoulder issues here at Florida State, and I think we can all say every offensive lineman and defensive lineman has battled shoulder issues through the years too. So that may not be specifically big or unique, right? But I think the sense is that Josh is a good fit. He could be a guy who can really contribute there. New England needs a lot of good football players, so I like that one. AZ to me is interesting too. He's going to go play for Aaron Glenn up in New York, a DB, a guy who's had a lot of success with Detroit as their DC. So I think if we're just kind of off the cuff, feels like a good fit to me, and we'll just see how those play out.
Yeah, Nick.
That's a sneaky good cornerback pairing in New York. If AZ gets the starting job, because you got AZ, who's obviously excellent by himself on an island on one side, and then you got Sauce Gardner, who is the big name guy on the other side. So that's a really interesting pair at corner for the Jets that, as Dolphins fans, Bob and I are probably not going to be too happy to see, but especially if Tyreek doesn't stay in town anymore, which he threatens to leave every offseason. So no, I think maybe AZ went a little bit later than we thought he might. I thought he was for sure going to go at some point in the 2nd round, but the rumor mill being that his 40 time during the combine, which obviously wasn't great, may have held him back a little bit. But just on fit and where they landed, I think they both landed at good spots. Specifically Farmer. I mean, obviously the Pats haven't been too good recently, but that's still an outstanding organization. And I think Vrabel's a really good head coach. So
you just said that like you're from Canada and we should be watching hockey.
Well, as somebody who is knee deep inside the NHL playoffs right now, I am a little bit distracted. Let's put it that way. Go Cats! Love my Panthers. I want to see us go up 3-1 tonight and smack the what out of Tampa. Hate those guys. Which I'm probably going against our core audience right now. It's probably a lot of Tampa. I'm sorry.
So hey, what did your boy Kachuk do? I heard he got in some trouble, or should have gotten in some trouble.
No, it was retaliatory. He just knocked somebody on their behind, and what I envisioned as retaliatory, because one of the Tampa Bay players had completely nailed and blindsided Sasha Barkov in the corner and hurt him in game 2. So maybe I don't think it was purposely retaliatory, but a big hit for a big hit. The NHL is very eye for an eye. in some cases. So
very Old Testament sport. Very Old Testament sport.
Yes.
Yeah, listen, our boy JP was going nuts on Twitter this morning about it. It's the only reason I know about it. He couldn't believe.
Is JP a Tampa fan?
Oh yeah, JP.
Oh, Peterson. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, JP was going nuts about it. All right, so we got some to go back to football until Florida State gets a hockey team, which I'm fine. Let's get a club.
I'm all for it.
Maybe they can schedule Duquesne. So let's talk about some let's talk about some NFL free agents. All right, so Ja'Kai Douglas goes to the Giants, Kevin Knowles to the Chiefs, Jeremiah Byers to Arizona, Maurice Smith to the Commanders, Ventrell Cypress to the Commanders, Cam Riley to the Patriots, and DJU to the Chargers. Well, first of all, before we get there, because I am heartbroken that Alex Mastromano, when we started this show, first of all, he should have been drafted. I mean, if Shedeur Sanders can get drafted, Alex Mastromano should be drafted. I mean, where is the people upset about the prejudice against people from Australia? Why is Mastromano not getting drafted? And I did some research. I talked about it on Friday. I know there's a problem with his get off time and traditional punting, but he just hasn't spent much. But you're not going to find a leg like that. So anyway, Alex has not been picked up yet. So out of those guys, Douglas Giants, Knowles Chiefs, Byers Arizona, Smith Commanders, Cypress Commanders, Riley Patriots, DJU Chargers. If you had to pick two that made it to preseason camp out of that group, who would you pick? Because I think there's very little chance that all 7 of those guys make it into camp. I think they're going to be some of these guys are going to get cut in rookie camp, mini camp.
Did you say Fitzgerald?
Oh, Fitzgerald Panthers. I did not say
Fitzgerald Panthers.
Let's say it. I'm sorry.
Because for me, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. I have to say that Fitz probably makes that team. Otherwise, I don't know, Bob.
I'll go Ja'Kai. Ja'Kai just because of speed. I know he didn't get he wanted like a 4.29 guy. Like he talked about that before pro day, that he wanted a 4.29. And then when he ran, he clearly didn't get the time that he wanted. The scouts were not thoroughly impressed. But if he has football speed, if he can show it out there on the grass, I think Ja'Kai is somebody who can at least make a practice squad, and you see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think for Ja'Kai to make any waves, he's going to have to be a return guy. He'll have to do that for sure. I think he's going to have to be a punt returner, kickoff returner. I don't think he can make it as a position-specific guy. He's going to have, but the problem with Ja'Kai is his size, and he can't play on any other special teams other than the return team. He can't play on coverage teams. I don't know. I guess you could line him up as a wide out on punt team, but that I just don't think that's what they're going to do.
Where did Cam Riley go again? Did he go?
Riley went to the Patriots.
I don't know. Like, I feel like somebody might, like, maybe it's not the Patriots, but maybe somebody falls in love with that size speed combo. Because I remember Riley just being able to go sideline to sideline and absolutely thump people. Now, you could say what you want about his season as a whole. Obviously, he was banged up throughout the course of last season, and maybe that had a lot to do with why he wasn't maybe even a later round pull beyond production. But I don't know. Maybe somebody falls in love with that combination.
If they're playing a true 3-4, I think Cam's got a chance because he can make it as a true 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he could do that. He's probably more of a strong side 3-4 outside linebacker, but we'll see there. Knowles, I just don't see it with the Chiefs. We'll see. I mean, we had such high expectations for him after that freshman year where he really played well. I remember the Florida game specifically down there, the year that Mullen got fired. He played pretty good. I think maybe I don't know. I'd say Byers But I'd probably go more with Cypress just because Cypress can run. So I'd have to say, I'll give you Fitzgerald. I'm not going to include him on my list, but I'd go Riley. Cypress as the guys that have the best two chances to make it to a preseason camp.
I just don't see having I just don't see an NFL offensive line coach having the patience to tell buyers what to do correctly for the sixth time and then that spring in fall camp. I just can't see it. You obviously like love the athleticism and the physical attributes, but just like to be able to play in the NFL, like even in a practice squad role, I just don't see an offensive line coach being able to.
Yeah, but I will say this: after last year, I just wonder how well they were being coached.
Well, that's true.
That group got worse and worse as the season went on.
But that's a multi-year thing too, where it's he
still
wasn't able to get it together.
Yeah, I will say he had a great attitude even late in that year where the season was going downhill. Like Jeremiah was kind of a leader type and was trying to be rah-rah. So I'm with you guys on that one. It's questionable. But hey, if he can play guard and tackle, if he can be developed to some extent, it's a long shot, but they're all kind of long shots on that undrafted free agent route.
Well, he'd be one of those guys where if it wouldn't totally surprise me. So I'd put him at number 3 on my list out of those 7 guys. But it wouldn't totally surprise me. Sometimes the light comes on for guys when their paycheck and it's either a paycheck or a real job. And a lot of guys don't want real jobs. They want to play as long as they can, and I don't blame them. The real world's not fun sometimes. All right, so that covers the draft. And if Mastromano has gotten picked up by somebody, please let us know so I can start his fan club for that particular team. We'll see. But that one was disappointing for me. All right, so we're going to do a commercial, but we're already 51 minutes into this thing, so we're going to save some people time. Let's talk a little bit about baseball, Bob, because I think softball took it hell in Louisville yesterday too. I watched a little bit of that after the baseball game, but listen, started off great on Friday night, a little bit of rain delay, then Florida State gets a win. Then the wheels came off of Florida State's bus and apparently were added to Louisville's bus because Louisville ran past Florida State on Saturday. Bob, 14 steals in a single game. Listen, I played a lot of baseball growing up. I don't think I ever saw that in a Little League game, let alone a high-level major college baseball game. I didn't get to see any of that game. What in the world happened? Were they taking advantage of the pitchers, the catchers? You just don't see that.
Okay, let's do the Bull Durham line before we move on here. New league record. Literally, 14 stolen bases is the most in an ACC game between two ACC teams. It's the most that they've ever had. I think the issues on Saturday were Jackson West has been battling some injuries. He was the catcher that day. I do think Joey Vellini being really slow to the plate, throwing a lot of off-speed stuff. When you're not throwing a healthy diet of fastballs, you got some extra time to run from first to second. Don't give up walks, though. If you're a pitcher, don't give up a walk because it can become a double in a hurry. And don't give up doubles because those become triples with these guys. Louisville just runs the bases. It's their identity. It's what they do. This is a bad series loss, I'll be honest, for Florida State baseball. But I don't think it's definitive in saying, well, Florida State's not a top 8 national seed. It doesn't really, it dings the resume, but it shouldn't fully tarnish it yet. You've still got Clemson coming up. You got Cal, you got UNC, a lot of baseball left. I think we see the strengths, what the pitching can do. You can win 2 out of 3 every weekend. We see the deficiencies at the same time, and we say, okay, this really isn't that kind of high-end, maybe Omaha type team that we all think they are on their best days too. So we see a little bit of both.
Now, let me ask you this, because you've watched a heck of a lot more baseball than I have. Did that game expose a new weakness for this team that you may now see other teams on the schedule, because the competition is only going to get better and better as you get to the ACC tournament and then regionals and hopefully super regionals and beyond that. Is this something that everyone knew was there as a weakness in this defense and it just hadn't been exposed? How do you? The sky's not falling. They're still 30 win team, but I was shocked when I read the report of the next morning.
I was shocked watching it. I mean, I'll be honest, at some point you go from 7 steals to 9 steals, and then it's okay, well, how'd you get to 12 and 13 and 14? I don't know. I haven't dug deeply into Clemson, Cal, UNC, like how well do they run the bases? I think Louisville far and away is the team that's going to run the bases extremely well. Coaches see it. They watch these games. They pick up all the nuances. It's available if you have the right speed in the lineup. If you get somebody on first base. Again, I don't create walks. Don't create headaches for yourself. I think this Florida State staff have done a good job of limiting walks, of limiting those opportunities to get on base and then turn it into more than that by, stretching a walk to essentially a double or going first to third on a base hit. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy opportunities for baseball players to use speed. I think if Jackson West truly is injured, and I'll be honest, local guy, I love Jackson, but if he really,
Kip, love Kip.
If he really is injured, you've got to start looking at, okay, how much can Hunter Carnes catch? How tough is that Friday, Saturday, Sunday back-to-back? Can you get Shmela out there a little bit more too? As he's been that third catcher. Can he catch a little bit more? You have to start having some honest conversations with guys. Is Jackson a better DH right now? You just have to have some of these honest conversations about, hey, it's the stretch run. Your next game is in May. What does it look like? The other team knows what it looks like. As you've said, they're all scouting.
Right.
But it's a big question mark going forward for sure.
Yeah, and then, of course, on Sunday, they have to worry about stealing bases because either FSU refuses to catch the ball or the ball's flying out of the field. The Max Williams era was one of the worst I've seen in college baseball this year, particularly for a guy that, likes to talk as much as he does. He talked himself out of catching that ball. It was clearly his, but the balls were flying out for Louisville. It was a windy day in Kentucky. That ball was blowing out towards left center. And but they were cranking them out 14-2, 7-inning, 10-run rule win. I didn't watch every single pitch, Bob. But it just was not a good weekend for Florida State. What went wrong? Obviously a lot of it was pitching on Saturday, on Sunday. A lot of it was fielding. How does this team respond, and what did Link have to say on Sunday after those 2 losses?
I think Link was frustrated. He basically came away feeling like they were lucky to get the Friday one and not get swept. And that's kind of a weird thing to say when you got Jamie Arnold going out there on Friday. You have to feel like you've got a chance to win a series because of the tone that guy sets on Fridays. I can look at it both ways because in an individual game, the defense wasn't good. But on the other hand, I think that was Max Williams' first error of the year. This has been a really good defensive team, whether it's infield or outfield. They've had their moments, of course, but you look at what Lodis has brought at short and Farrow at second. It's been really high quality. We've also seen the Chase Williams, play that he made last Tuesday against Stetson, and that's one of the more phenomenal non-center fielder run it down and catches that you're ever going to see. So I think, again, you've got known deficiencies. It's not going to be perfect and consistent day to day. I'm kind of old school in that whole Mike Martin thing. I do like my pitching and defense. I think this has a capability to be a good defensive team. The pitching is just, you're riding through some of these issues. You've got Jamie Arnold. You've got Joey Vellini, who's been off and on. Wes Mendes is clearly battling it, and I think he's going to have to figure it out down the stretch. Bullpen is the kind of the mess that it is, but when you're down Cam Leiter, when you're down a true midweek guy, your options are getting a little bit limited and you're just not getting enough out of those arms right now.
Yep. And got Clemson coming up, correct?
Big, they're what, 5 or 6 in a lot of these polls. So I mean, this is a top 20 series coming up Friday.
Yeah. Explain to me. You know more about a ton more about this. All right. So Florida State's ranked 5 in one poll and 19 in another. What in the world? And I mean, I guess you can't make sense of it, but it is weird. Like, you don't have that. Rarely will you have that big a discrepancy in college football polls. And if you do, it's usually a G5 that's ranked 10th in one poll and 15th in another. There's never a discrepancy of 14 places. Listen, I just think it's weird. I don't have a problem with it either way. Florida State's a good baseball team. They're probably somewhere in the middle of that. Let's just call them 12. Take 7 from each side, and call them 12. But Clemson is right behind them in the rankings, ACC rankings. I believe it's gonna. So you'll have your. I don't know if Florida State's still in first after this weekend, but it's going to be at the very least 2 of the top 3 teams in the ACC going head to head. Is that, and this is probably a dumb question, is that at home or away?
Florida State Clemson's here.
Okay. All
so
right.
yeah. I mean, it's based here. Here's the other wild card with the standings is, not to make too much of it, but Florida State lost 3 games because of that series that was canceled. So we're going off winning percentage the rest of the way. What's important, I think, to me is, A, you want to get one of your top 4 seeds for the ACC tournament, but B, you got to be a national seed. To be a national seed, you have to win series like these against Clemson. So you got to take 2 out of 3. That's what it comes down to, especially at home.
Yeah, the announcers were talking about how important these games coming towards the end of the season are for hosting a regional, right? I mean, they were talking about that with Louisville, that they need to finish in the top 4 in the ACC probably to get a regional. I don't know how many teams. I don't know if they have a set number of teams from each conference that host regionals. I don't think that's true. But they were mentioning that they thought Louisville would have to finish in the top 4. And obviously, we think Florida State's going to get a regional as of today. We'll see. Obviously, Clemson is going to be important, but yeah. So that'll be a fun series. And where are we with softball? I know they played Sunday against Louisville, and they were struggling when I saw them. I know they've got the Fan Appreciation Day on Wednesday because their last home series was canceled because of the shooting. So are they done now with the regular season and going into postseason?
One more series, so they go to Virginia Tech, which is also, I believe, top 20 good, might be even higher than that. So Florida State needs 1 win to secure the ACC regular season title, the top seed for the ACC tournament, which of all places is going to be played in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Congratulations
the ACC
to them.
tournament is?
They rotate it on site, Pat, and I can't explain it other than to say, why not play it where your softball hotbeds are, like Tallahassee, Atlanta, Clemson, etc.
Well, take it to Jacksonville. Play it over in Jacksonville. Play it in.
They don't go neutral. It's a very weird deal. They don't go neutral for softball.
That's interesting. The weather would probably be great. I would hope. It's May in Boston. You think you should have some fall-like weather, so maybe that'll help the pitchers out, last longer. I don't know. All right. Well, listen, and like we said, they do have a senior appreciation on Wednesday at 6 p.m. autograph session, home run derby. So if you did not get a chance to go say hello to the Lady Noles in their last game, they don't call them Lady Noles anymore, do they? It's just Seminoles. Just Seminoles. If you want to go see the Seminole softball team play or visit with them, go out Wednesday. They are going to have a fan appreciation day so that softball fans can honor the seniors that have meant so much to this program, and obviously one of the best programs in all of college softball. So Wednesday at 6, autograph session, home run derby. All right, guys, we've been here about an hour, so we'll wrap it up. We could get into the NFL draft some more, but I don't think I can even say his name anymore without making him. I mean, I'm just so over it. But I'll just say this. I've never seen a 5th-round pick dominate draft coverage, and I've never seen the lack of professionalism by announcers. Even my man, Rich Eisen, was taking it personally. It's the one guy I listen to all the time. I listen to him daily, usually at night. And Rich was doing the work for Dion. Mel Kiper was doing the work for Dion. I was embarrassed for those guys. There was no collusion. These owners, half of them don't talk to each other because they're ego-driven maniacs that think they should be the most powerful men in the league. There was no collusion for this. If you think that, I don't know what to tell you. First of all, only about 7 teams needed quarterbacks in this draft, so they would not have all participated. But I just never seen anything like it in my life. And listen, to Nick's point earlier, I'm not sure that the NFL, somebody might, but from their PR department, might want to go take credit for it, because I guarantee you the Saturday round of the NFL draft has never been watched by more people. But it was a full 5 hours of why has this kid not been drafted, and nobody said anything about Will Howard at Ohio State. Nobody said anything about
the Dolphins in the 7th round.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Listen, that comes with the brand of being a Sanders. But listen, I do think that Dion, he's already said that he wants to go to his first meeting with the Browns. So I come out and said that. This is one of the reasons that this kid fell, is because Dion cannot keep his hands out of the business, and Dion's got to make him the center of everything. I mean, that guy has way, way too much pride. A religious guy like him should know that pride can be a hurtful thing at times. But listen, I think that's one. And there was, obviously some questions about his on-field performance, his physical skills, but I do think that one of the reasons people shied away from him, because exactly what happened with his father coming out and saying, he said 2 things before he was drafted. He called another coach, a head coach at the NFL, who'd take his call and wanted him to go talk to his assistant, who Dion thought was the genesis of whatever the rumor was that Dion wanted expelled. So he went on one time already to talk about that. He's already been in touch with one staff that he was not happy with how they were talking about his son. So now he's going to walk into the Cleveland Browns head coach and owner and tell them how this should work. I think Dion, listen, and if you're Colorado, I think you got to be concerned about how focused he is going to be on your program moving forward, because he's not going to watch film on Saturdays. If he's going to watch the football on Sundays, he's going to watch the Browns if his son's playing. He's going to watch the Bucks if his other son is playing there. But yeah, I've just never seen I was embarrassed for those guys that they really, like Rich Eisen, who I think he's one of the top NFL guys, but just I was embarrassed for all those guys this weekend, because there were a lot of kids that were not being talked about that were getting drafted that had unbelievable college careers, and some of them better than Shadir. And they totally ignored those kids because they wanted to push a false narrative about collusion one way or the other, or this reason or that reason. I just thought it was ridiculous. Well, I don't know what you guys thought. I don't know how much you watched it.
I think more embarrassing for Mel Kiper than it was Rich Eisen, depending on the coverage that you were watching. I mean, Mel was banging the drum for. You couldn't even. What is the NFL draft but a celebration of the dreams of so many of the players that have worked every single day for the past 19 years, and all of the moments are being overshadowed by what this one quarterback at Colorado and his father they're not getting drafted. It also opens itself up to receipts about how, which I found was interesting, receipts in the sense that you're saying, well, I know what I'm talking about in quarterbacks, and I can't believe that this guy isn't taken when 20 years ago you were claiming Jimmy Clausen was the best thing since sliced bread, and he's going to be Jesus Christ incarnate. It was embarrassing coverage, and
yeah, I hope they get that straightened out. Of course, we won't have a Sanders in the draft. Of course, now Dion put something out today that he wants to have more kids, so we'll see if that happens. In 22 more years, we'll be going through this again. There's a tweet about it. 57, he wants to have another child.
Like I said, you're going to keep trying until you get a first-round pick.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was. I thought usually they're both those networks do an amazing job with coverage. I usually enjoy watching, particularly I love the Saturday round, just because you're going to have seen a lot of these guys that, you see that. So you see more names go out in those 2 days. And, we see guys that we've watched Florida State play against, a bunch of guys so I've always enjoyed that round, but oh man, it was hard to watch. I almost turned it off at one point, and I did turn the volume down, just started looking at names, scrolling through, so I wouldn't have to listen to any of the ranting that was going on. But yeah, listen, well, congrats to Florida State's kids. Speaking of kids that got drafted, AZ and Josh, because we don't want to do the same thing the NFL Network did or ESPN did. But listen, so it was a fun weekend, though. A lot going on with the portal, with the NFL draft, and baseball, softball, and listen, the portal's closed. Got a couple of visits coming in this week. You can go to theosceola.com. Check out our message board thread that's got all the latest. Nick and I do bios on these kids to give you a little bit of information on their history, where they're playing, where they've played, who recruited them, what their stats are. So you can go to theosceola.com. Have to be a subscriber to access that information, but we think that you will enjoy doing that. Then, of course, we've got full coverage of baseball, softball, and whatever is going on with we got articles on Josh on the NFL draft, I believe. And so we'll have all that, but go to theosceola.com to check that out. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the Osceola YouTube channel. Hit the notification button on your way out so that you get notified when we're doing live or taped shows. We're on quite a run of live shows. We've done pretty good here lately, all live. We're live, coming to you live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. and usually go to about 4. We'll run a little bit late today, but there was a lot to talk about. Bob, Nick, anything on the way out?
Just that in terms of like FSU guys that are getting some undrafted free agent deals or minicamp invites, LT, Lawrence Toafili, is going to the Jets minicamp, rookie minicamp, I believe, as well.
He's a guy that can make it as a return guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So good for LT. He was one of my favorites. He's a good kid and did a lot of things. I think his career at Florida State would have been much better if they did what Bob and I suggested and left him at receiver his entire career. Who knows? The offense may have played a little bit better last year. Of course, I don't know that they could have blocked to get the ball to him, but we'll see. We won't see that. We'll find out this year how they do. But yeah, good for LT. Good for LT. All right, guys. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening, and we appreciate everybody watching, listening, however you are accessing this show. We appreciate it greatly, and we'll be back on Wednesday to talk more portal, more FSU football, and we're going to start breaking down each position group on the football team coming out of spring. And we won't have a lot more to say than what we said today. Probably should have done quarterbacks today since we covered the whole room. So we may move on to receivers and break down the receiver room coming in on Wednesday as opposed to quarterbacks, since we actually did a fairly thorough overview of the quarterback room now that they've added the kid from East Tennessee State. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you guys later in the week, and we hope the viewers and listeners will join us on Wednesday at 3. Have a good one.